He's gonna make it clear. Did you know? Come on, listen here. Did you know?
Welcome to the Did You Know Show. This installment, we are downtown Philadelphia at the Pennsylvania Convention Center at the 31st African American Book Fair, which is going on right now from 1 to 4 most of the afternoon. I gotta tell you, this is probably one of my favorite events for the full year because you get a chance to see a lot of the different books that are written about black people or people of color. You get to meet the authors, the illustrators, and in this instance, I have with me the lovely Gloria Jean Pinckney, who is the author and wife of the award-winning author and illustrator Jerry Pinckney. Welcome.
Thank you.
How you doing?
I'm fine. Blessed.
So you came all the way down from New York to come down here to have Philadelphia love, and you brought your book, Just Jerry.
Yes.
How Drawing Shaped My Life. Let's talk about it.
Well, first of all, this is Jerry's book.
Okay.
Jerry passed away 2 years ago.
Okay.
And he had been working on this book for years.
Okay.
And it's about his childhood, about growing up in Philadelphia, and about his challenges being dyslexic.
Oh.
Jerry was extremely dyslexic. However, that never ever prevented him from trying to succeed. And so this story is for parents, especially parents and children who have learning differences. And that's why the book was so important to him. We actually were able to finish it when he was in the hospital, the writing of it, and he did the preliminary drawings, but he never was able to apply the paint. But even that is a blessing because you're able to see what's underneath the paint. He has over 100 books for children in watercolor. And so in this one, you get to see what the underdrawings look like, you know. So that makes this book very special. I want to tell you about the title.
Go ahead.
It's called Just Jerry. I came up with the title. Jerry wasn't sure he wanted the title. He wanted it to be How Drawing Shaped My Life.
Okay.
And his editor liked that title also. I was able to convince them because when I met Jerry 64 years ago,
Oh, wow.
yeah, we met at a Valentine's dance in Dobbins Vocational Technical School at a Sweethearts dance. He took me to meet his mother, and I asked her why, of her 6 children, was Jerry the only one who didn't have a formal name or a middle name. She said, just Jerry's enough. He's going to make someone of that name. Boy, was she right. There are no other artists in the family. Jerry was the first. He was very different. He was always drawing. And so this is a story of what it was like growing up in a house, a very tiny little house on East Earlham Street, a dead-end street, tiny little house with just 2 rooms on 2 floors, and how he would find his own little space to draw. Usually, when he was very young, it was under the piano. He would sit there with a drawing pad, and that became his world. You know, drawing on that drawing. He was always drawing. And he was very fortunate in school because of his not even being able to read. He was able to draw.
Okay.
And his teachers appreciated that, and he soon became the class artist. And that's in here, about that happening too. And how, when it came time for Jerry to graduate from Dobbins Vocational Technical School, where I met him, Philadelphia was giving out 3 scholarships that year. And Jerry had a very good teacher who felt that Jerry was very talented, but he didn't give any of the application blanks to the black students. You know, even though he was very fair, and Jerry always made, stars with wings on them, you know, or A's with wings.
Okay.
But this teacher, who he loved, did not give him an application blank. But what did Jerry do? He went down to the counselor's office and got one for himself and a friend. And they won 2 of those scholarships, both of them black. Both of those 2 guys won scholarships to Philadelphia College of Art at that time, which is now the University of the Arts.
Wow.
Is that some story?
That's some story.
Yeah.
When we came to get you out of the room, the convention room, to bring you over to interview you, you were telling a story about your dress, your beautiful dress that you have on today.
Yes, my dress. I would like to tell a story about
Go
that.
ahead.
Well, first of all, I have 5 published books. Jerry has over 100 published books.
Okay.
Incidentally, he's been published in 14 different countries, too.
Okay.
All right. But anyway, one of my books, which I am so pleased with, is called In the Forest of Your Remembrance. And it's 33 true tellings of my relationship with the Holy Spirit.
Oh.
And the Holy Spirit really guides my life. He's my helper, he's my guide, he's my friend, and he also is the reason that I'm not sad, even though Jerry has now been dead 2 years. You know, I'm a happy widow, all right?
Okay.
As much as I do miss him, all right? Anyway, one day I saw this dress, and this was about maybe 3 months ago,
Okay.
I said, I really like that dress. I think I'll buy it. I don't know when I'm going to wear it. So I hung it in the closet, right? Well, a few weeks ago, Jerry's book arrived in the mail. I took it out, and look what he's wearing.
Oh, wow.
And that's what I said.
That's-
Oh, wow, I'm going to wear that dress for his signing. So I'm here signing for Jerry for this book.
And it's a long line. It's a long line.
Oh,
out
is
there.
there?
There's
Oh,
a long line
really?
out there waiting for people to talk to
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
But before we let you go, and first of all, thank you for coming and sharing the story.
Absolutely.
Tell us what you do.
Well, I'm a minister. I haven't always been a minister.
Okay.
I became a minister probably now about 15 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Even though I grew up Christian, I knew about God, but didn't know God, and certainly didn't think that God would ever speak to me. But I did start to hear him when I became interested in reading the Bible from cover to cover. And I really wanted to get to know the Lord better. And in the beginning, Jerry didn't believe that I could hear the Lord. But by the time Jerry passed away, he was hearing the Lord himself.
Oh.
The only thing is, I call the Holy Spirit, he called it something. Something said. Is that funny? Something said.
Something
And
said.
Something said do this, something said do that. So anyway, the point of the matter is that, I minister in nursing homes, the Bethel nursing homes. I do 2 sermons on Tuesday, and then I do 2 sermons on Thursday. Or I call them sermonettes. I'm also a singer. I sing spirituals.
Oh,
So,
wow. Like
yeah.
walk in the light, walk in the beautiful
Walk
light.
in the light, beautiful light. Come where the dewdrops of mercy shine bright. Shine all around us by day and by night. Jesus, the light of the world.
Oh, you better go. You better go. Thank you. Move that spirit. Thank you, Miss Gloria Jean Pinckney,
You're
for coming
welcome.
on. So don't go away. We have so many exciting offers that we're going to try to talk to today. We're down here at the Pennsylvania Convention Center at the 31st African American Book Fair. And Always Best Care is a proud sponsor. Don't go away.
Did you know?
Dad, you can't do this anymore. I think it's time to consider a nursing home.
But I don't want to leave my home, all my stuff.
But Dad,
Alva,
Always Best Care is here to help.
With Always Best Care, we come to you and do anything you need to continue living at home with our care.
you really are a hero.
Let Always Best Care take care of your loved one. Everyone deserves the best care, always.
Did you know?
Welcome back to the Did You Know Show. I'm sitting here now with Mr. Najee Grant. He is a philanthropist, a motivational speaker, an author, and celebrated storyteller. Welcome to the show.
I appreciate you.
Thank you for taking the time out of the book fair to come over and talk to us.
No, I appreciate it.
And so you have a couple of books. Tell us about them.
Yeah, thank you. It's just January, it'll be 10 years since writing our first children's book.
Oh, wow.
And by the end of this year, we'll have 20 books published.
You say we, so who you
Well,
got-
I'm the writer, but I had different illustrators.
Okay.
And it's a team effort, right?
Okay.
So it's always a collective we with our books.
Now, where are you from?
I'm from Long Marion.
Okay.
Ardmore.
All right, so tell us about the books that you got.
Yeah, so I had 2 books in my hand, but we have more, for the fair. But I chose to bring in Aaron Goes to the White House Science Fair.
Hold that up for the camera.
There you go. Aaron Goes to the White House Science Fair, which the kids love the most, why I brought this one. And then also the follow-up to that book was Aaron Runs for Class President.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so all of our books are based on self-confidence, believing in yourself, innovation, perseverance, faith. Anything you want to do, no matter what's going on in your life, you can achieve it if you dream big enough, have the perseverance, and plan for your success. Again, started writing children's books. Again, 10 years ago, 2013, January 22nd was our first book.
What was your inspiration? What was your inspiration for writing children's
Well, yeah, and
books?
that was the point. So, for me, I was a very poor student academically.
Okay.
Middle school going into high school, so much so that I failed my freshman year in high school at Long Marion High School, and it was only because of an elective I had to take my senior year to be able to graduate on time with my class was writing short stories, a class writing short stories. And it was the only class out of my whole 4 years of high school that I really, really enjoyed because it was different from the traditional classes of history, math, science, whatever. But being creative and we would come up with my own stories and characters, I took that with me once I graduated, luckily, on time by doing well in that class. And also, I graduated in 2007. and it was the same year that Barack Obama ran for president.
Okay.
And I got so wrapped up in his message and his campaign.
I think we all did.
A lot of people did, whether they voted for him or not. Like, everyone got gravitated towards him. But for me personally, I took that as if he can do that, then I can do something more than just, the quote unquote just 9 to 5 exist. And then, so I wrote a plan for myself. I mirrored what he was doing with what I wanted to do with community organizing, getting involved in the community. And that's where the books come from with this series, because he goes to the White House. He gets to meet President Obama at the White House, and our character Aaron. And once he gets back home, he gets inspired to run for class president, to be the first young African-American class president in his school, same way that Obama was the first African-American president. So we mirror real life, mix some fiction in there as well. But again, all of our books are just based on innovation, believing in yourself, the self-confidence, and from the gamut that you can do anything, put your mind to.
So when you introduced the book, Aaron Goes to the White House Science Fair, you said this is one of the most popular books. Why do you think it's popular? I mean, you get the feedback, but what do you, it's like an artist. When an artist does a mirage of work, I think you never really know what's going to take off the most. Mm-hmm. And so I understand the spirit in which you wrote that book, but why do you think it's so warmly received by children?
I believe it's a good question. It's a real question, because I know why it motivated me to do the book. Okay. But a lot of people, as soon as we opened up the doors here, and people go, "Oh, the Aaron book," because they see a lot, especially like the young boys,
the young black boys,
to see themselves in Aaron, right, and explaining the messages and the themes of what Aaron represents. But again, also because it's aspirational, because some of them may not, again, never even been to Washington, D.C. Some of them may never, like you see President Obama, but it's only on camera. Right. But in the book, you're able to see him and meet him in the book. And I think that's different than, again, even I never been to the White House. Never been to the science fair. Okay. Right? But we put that in the book, and you open it up, and you get to be in there with them.
You get to participate in your dreams. I don't tell a lot of people anymore, because I think they don't think I'm telling the truth. But growing up in Winfield section of Philadelphia, I spent a lot of time in that library. My mother worked 2.5 jobs for as much as I can remember. And if she took a day off from work, it was something serious going on. But most of the time, I spent a lot of time in the library dreaming. Back then, it was things like Encyclopedia Brown, or Veronica Gans, or all kinds of books out there. One of my mom's girlfriends bought her to a guy, an encyclopedia salesman, who at the time was selling Negro encyclopedias. And to say an encyclopedia right now in this age of technology, you have to go back, to the Dewey Decimal System when you went to the library. But the library allowed me to dream. So when you say dreaming and that kind of thing, I think a lot of kids dream. And for me, to be able to put a book in a child's hands, especially a child that is not somebody that is really succeeding at school, that's a very vulnerable place to be, and to really share it that way. All kinds of people have all kinds of challenges. Certainly, people of color, our challenges are not that different, but they are here. Right. And so to give kids a chance to dream about it is just special. Thank you for coming on here. Right. Obviously you can come down to the Pennsylvania Convention Center, and you can come down and check out the free book fair. But where can people find this book online?
Yeah, all of our books are available on my website at NajeeGrant.com, NAHJEE Grant.com. Okay. We also have a studio in Long Marion as well. That's what's the only black-owned studio in Ardmore as well.
Oh wow! Okay.
That we had to like to
talk
mention,
about it. Talk about it. When is it open?
Yeah, so we're open by appointment only.
Okay.
But we're in the heart of the Long Marion Ardmore Business District. Okay. And we're there's only five black-owned businesses in Ardmore in the business district, and we are one of them, called Daydream Creative Studios. Okay. And also on our website, dksnetwork.com/books. That's where all of our books are as well.
Okay. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break. Thank you, Mr. Najee, for
Appreciate
coming
you.
on here. Don't go away. We will be right back with another author.
Let me help you with that, Mr. Smith.
Oh, thank you.
How did this get here?
You got one too?
Yeah.
Ah, new recruits? I'm sure you're wondering why you're here. This is our Elite Caregiver Super Training Center, and you two are the perfect candidates.
This is incredible.
I know, right? Ready to become an Always Best Care caregiver? Working for the best team with competitive pay? Join Team Green.
Always Best Care supports diversity. There's a hero in all of us.
Did you know?
Welcome back to the Did You Know Show. I'm sitting here now with Mr. Gerald Jackson, and he has 2 books, A Father's Love and A Father's Message. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, man. I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy that you could, take time out of the being on the floor with the book fair. Tell us what inspired you to become a writer, and why A Father's Love.
So, what inspired me to become a writer? I learned at an early age how important literacy is. Right, knowledge is power. I know that words can build you up or tear you down. Right, you think about somebody bullying. Using certain words, it's still words, but it can tear somebody down. And so, as an author, I choose to use my writing to inspire and encourage the youth, our next generation.
So you have A Father's Love.
Yes.
Why A Father's Love? What was the inspiration behind the title and the theme?
Absolutely. So I think it's so important. I wanted to make it known that I'm speaking from a father's perspective, right?
Okay.
I think that it just hits different when you hear that father's voice. I grew up in a single parent home.
As I did.
And so I know a lot of children probably used to hearing that mom's voice. If, say for an example, mom says, hey, clean up your room. But then the father said, hey, I need you to clean up your room, right? Not being, not trying to get them to scare, but it just means different or hits different. And so I wanted that to be intentional as a father's love. But I think when you truly love someone, you want everything that was poured into you, you want to make sure that you give it and you give it to that child. And and it's coming from a place of love. Like, I want nothing but the best from you. I'm telling you things because I care. If I want you to get hurt, if I want things to happen to you, then I won't say nothing. But because I care, I'm going to take the time and invest in your future. And so what Father's Love and A Father's Message does just that. It's an inspiration and encouraging word throughout the story. And it also shows, both books, it shows a young child growing as the pages turn, symbolizing growth. Because whether we like it or not, every day we wake up, we get older.
Where are you from?
West Philly.
West Philadelphia, hey!
West Philadelphia, born and raised.
Right on. Where about in West Philly? I gotta ask now.
50-something Chestnut.
Okay.
A little block called Alden Street.
I grew up in Winfield.
Okay.
All right.
So I'm in the Overbrook section now.
Okay.
So I'm still here.
Right on, man. So Philadelphia is an exciting town from food, water ice events, sporting events, and all that kind of thing. You wrote another book. Hold it up so the camera can see it. A Father's Message.
Yes.
So what was A Father's Message? What message were you delivering?
So it's more so just letting a child know that, hey, I want you to be the best version of yourself. For me, even having that spiritual background, I grew up in a single parent home, I didn't really have that father figure at the game and saying, hey, you always wonder. I wonder what my father would say if I was in a situation, right? At the game, I always hear other kids, hey, good job, son. Or if you had that girlfriend, that girl that you might like, or if you get in a fight, would it have been a different outcome if that father was present, if that father was there? And so on both books, it's just kind of just letting them know, hey, I want to make sure I instill certain messages in you, certain morals, certain values, so you can know that there's no confusion is what I want. If you want somebody to remember, you write it down. And so that's another added piece to a book. Right. I wrote it down so even long gone after me, there's a message that will forever live for my children, my grandchildren, even for children that's in this world. So I have an excerpt that I would like to share out of each message. Either out of A Father's Message, it says, there's so many books that you can read. Learn as much as you can, so one day you can lead. And then A Father's Love says, don't be afraid to challenge yourself. Whatever you start, make sure you complete. Your mind is your best weapon, and a good education just can't be beat. Knowledge is power. And so that's one of the things that I want to continue to let them know. Never stop learning.
You got me choked up. Okay, so 2 questions.
Yes.
How many kids do you have?
I have 3.
Okay.
3. I'm a husband, a father, 3 beautiful children. So I'm just that's my better half. I think she keeps me in order. My wife. So.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. I'm going to get a cup of water. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and read another author. A Father's Message and a Father's Love by Mr. Gerald Jackson from West Philadelphia.
Can I also just tell people where to get this book?
You absolutely can. Oh, you absolutely can. What was I thinking?
So you can go to my website. My books you can be ordered. It can be published. I'm saying published. It can be ordered at my website, www.geraldljackson.com. It's my name, so you can't forget it. Don't forget the L, www.geraldljackson.com. But it's also on Amazon as well, so it's easy to be able to get to. Just type in my name and see what a father's message or a father's love.
All right. Thank you.
Let me help you with that, Mrs. Jackson.
Oh, thank you, dear.
How'd this get here? You got one too?
Yeah.
Ah, new recruits? I'm sure you're wondering why you're here. This is our Elite Caregiver Super Training Center, and you two are the perfect candidates.
This is incredible.
I know, right? Ready to become an Always Best Care caregiver? Working for the best team with competitive pay? Join Team Green.
Always Best Care supports diversity. There's a hero in all of us.
Did you know?
Welcome back to the Did You Know Show. My name is Brian Green, and today's show is brought to you by Always Best Care. We are down at the Pennsylvania Convention Center in downtown Philadelphia at the 31st African American Book Fair, and this author that I'm about to feature is none other than Mr. Jamar Nicholas. And he has one of his books, Leon the Extraordinary. First of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Positive spirit. I was here a little early trying to pick my books out so I didn't have to fight the crowd so I could do the show. And I met this brother. He said, oh, you got one of my books? I said, you got to come on and talk about your book. And so you are from Philadelphia.
Yes, sir.
What
Yeah.
part?
I'm from West Philly.
Oh, West
Yeah.
Philly, right on, man. We're at West Philly.
50th and Race.
Okay, man. I'm from Winfield,
Oh,
man.
there you go, man.
Right on.
It's all love, yeah.
It's all love. So how long have you been writing, and what inspired the character Leon?
Well, this is great. I'm celebrating my 25th year in the business this year.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's just from turning pro. But ever since I was a kid, I wanted to do cartoons.
Okay.
So that was my life focus. I wanted to be a comic strip artist.
Okay.
But from there, I just figured out that I love telling stories using comics, and that's kind of the genesis of how I started.
Wow, so tell us about Leon the Extraordinary.
Sure. So Leon the Extraordinary, this is the first in the series at Scholastic, which I'm really proud to have. It's about a 5th grade kid who lives in a world where there's so many superheroes. You ready for this? The worst thing you can be is ordinary. And he does not have superpowers. But what he does have is a really strong sense of community, pride, and common sense. So you'll see in the book he has a common sense flowchart that helps him figure things out. So it's a really great book, and kids are really picking up on it.
Where did you pull Leon from?
He's been living in my head for a while. There's notes of me growing up in Philly with my mother. She was a single parent. And we kind of come from that age where the village raised you.
Yes.
Like Miss Peaches at the top of the block.
I had a Miss Peaches. I had a Miss Peaches.
I
had a Miss Peaches with all kinds of flowers in her garden. I had a Miss Peaches, yes.
Yeah, so you'll see notes of that where Leon's mom works a lot.
My mother worked 2.5 jobs. I said that earlier in the show.
There you go.
If mommy took a day off from work, it was serious.
Right.
It meant something. If she took a day off from work, it better be something going on.
She's coming up to school because you got in trouble.
If you got in trouble at school, you know ain't no way she's not going to deal with you. When my mother took off a day from work, that meant something.
That's a wrap.
There's no fooling. It was a wrap. But that was a different time, a different place. Public school system. But Leon is this 5th grader, who's has a lot of common sense and that kind of thing. You didn't bring your other book, but let's talk about the other book too.
Sure. So I think the book you're referring to is Fist, Stick, Knife, Gun?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a book I adapted from the memoirs of Geoffrey Canada. I don't know if you're familiar with Geoffrey Canada.
Tell me about him.
Geoffrey Canada is he's the president now. He used to be like the CEO president of the Harlem Children's Zone in Harlem. He's a giant advocate for children, and he created in New York Promise Academies and a lot of charter schools, and he was one of the early progenitors, that's my $5 word for today,
all right,
of taking kids from the womb and getting them to college.
Okay.
So, but he wrote his his memoirs back in the 90s about growing up in the South Bronx under violence, under the thumb of violence. So his publisher contacted me, this was like 11, 12 years ago, to turn that book into a graphic novel, and that's what that was about.
Wow.
So we can all connect to that. You know, if you're a city kid, if you grew up in a city, having to make choices that maybe that's not part of your personality, that you want to go out and have to fight kids. But, you know, sometimes the streets dictated that action.
The survival.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so where can people find the book or books?
So what I'm really happy about with the Scholastic book is you can get it wherever books are sold.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and also if your kids are have a school that has a Scholastic Book Fair, you'll find it in the book fair leaflet. Online, it's everywhere, and it's great.
Thank you so much for coming on. What can we? You said this is first in the series.
Yes.
So are you working? When can we expect the next installment of Leon?
So the next book is called Leon the Magnificent.
Oh, okay.
And it is slated to come out in summer 24. So
Okay.
not too far from now.
Right on, man.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for coming on
Thank
the
you
show.
for having me.
And thank you
Appreciate
for
it.
participating in this book fair. It's so important.
Oh yeah, no, it's important, and it's great that it's already packed. I
Yes.
love seeing the kids with their wide eyes and seeing
When
kids that
you
look
see
like
a
them.
child that is so excited about a book,
Yeah.
whether it's fiction or nonfiction, it moves me.
It changes everything.
It's
Yeah.
a game changer, and
Yeah.
I'm so happy to be able to get behind it in this very special way. And this time, you know, to really be able to talk to the creative geniuses behind the magic that you guys are making.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I hope for another 25 years for you.
Let's hope.
Okay. All right, let's take a quick break. We're going to come back on the other side. Don't go away.
Did you know?
Dad, you can't do this anymore. I think it's time to consider a nursing home.
But I don't want to leave my home. All my stuff.
But Dad,
How the...
Always Best Care is here to help.
With Always Best Care, we come to you and do anything you need to continue living at home with our care.
You really are a hero.
Let Always Best Care take care of your loved one. Everyone deserves the best care, always.
Did you know?
Welcome back to the Did You Know Show. Today's show is brought to you by Always Best Care Senior Services. We are down here at the Pennsylvania Convention Center celebrating the 31st African American Book Fair. And I seen my friend, my mentor, my motivational speaker, author, breast cancer survivor, all around good spirit, Frankie Darcell down here. And I just wanted to pull you into the conversation because there's so much going on in current events. But can you just tell us from your perspective how important it is to have an event like this?
Well, first of all, let me start here. How important it is to have people like you,
Thank you.
businesses who are committed to giving back to the community, who need the community to be able to do business, but understand the need of the community. So shout out to you.
Thank you.
Brian Green, shout out to Always Best Care Philly, Delaware, for what you do to the community. And it's a part of what we do, right? So I use my radio space at WDAS because it's what I do.
Right.
Keeps the roof on my head, pays my college loans for my daughter.
Right on.
But it also gives me the opportunity to give back to the community. And as a author of 2 books and an audio book, it is important in this digital age to still read. I think smart people read. And for young children, the African American Children's Book Fair just opens the door of opportunities. And what I think is so exceptional for this one is that it's focusing on African American or men of color who are authors, who, because you know, one of the things, hey, it's not cool. It's not cool. Boys, you know, you read. Listen, and part of that is because young boys need to be able to pick up, I don't care, you know, what your ethnicity is, but specifically to this fair, for African American boys and boys of color to pick up a book and speak to their experience. A myriad of experiences are here by Black authors and by illustrators. I think this is just amazing. My daughter said saying thebomb.com is played out, but it's thebomb.com.
It really is. You know, at a time where you have some legislators, some elected officials, local and state and federal, that are finding it to be their mission to be very dismissive and to really start to wipe away African American studies.
Sure.
I mean, this country was built on the backs of, you know, the free labor of slave trade. You know, the irony is that the country that was the land of the free was not the land of the free for everybody else. And, you know, for people of color that come through this and to survive that, to be able to come back and say, okay, we need to study the history because America became the powerful giant that it is on the backs of free labor, whether you know it or not. But the other part of it is, too, the authors that I talk to, what means something special to me is that men are showing their vulnerability in a way, a special way, a creative way, to pass the torch to kids. This is one of my favorite events of the year. If you hear the drums in the background, they had a ceremonial thing for African American event.
I love it.
But it's something that I look forward to because you see the child's face light up. It's a chance to really uplift a child. And I got to get behind that. I got to get behind that because, you know, so many things that are out here that are negative, but when you have somebody that's been and gotten through what so many children have yet to even face and share it in a way that you can dream, whether it's fiction or whether it's something of a documentary, it is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And you know, and to celebrate that, and this is year 31, nothing like this anywhere in the country, but here in the city of Philadelphia, to give young people, and here's what's really interesting, there are a lot of young people between kindergarten, 8, 9, 10 years old, but the parents who are getting their middle schoolers up and out of the bed, their high schoolers up and out of the bed, to come and experience this opportunity. It's just been amazing. I love it. Like you, it's one of my favorite events of the year.
Tell us, you know, you don't just do radio. If you didn't know, my friend, she had me in one of her productions some years ago.
Yes!
And I can't wait to be.
You didn't know this was our Denzel Washington of Philadelphia. I'm just saying.
So what's coming up new for you?
Yeah, so this is a wonderful year and I'm staying focused. March 25th at Esperanza is Vagina Monologues, written by Eve Ensler. It is a wonderful, and I'll call it B-Day. B-Day. But what it is, I do it every other year. We had to skip because of COVID. But it is a litany of professional and community activists, women, brilliant women in the community coming on stage. I'm talking about these women, most of them have never acted before in their life. But they're coming on stage to talk about the vast stories of women around the world who have experienced violence. And it's a celebratory piece as well as a piece that really talks about violence against women. Thank you again, Brian Green, for understanding the importance, because we have to have men in this conversation as well. So thank you for stepping up and supporting Vagina Monologues. Lastly, I want to walk the walk, talk the talk. One of the toughest things, Brian, for women in theater, and actually when I was in college at Morgan State University, I was in the Ira Aldrich Players. Since then, for the last 15 years, but what I noticed is that women, writers, directors, and producers, tough to find funding. That's why you don't see a lot of them out there on the road. So I created the Philadelphia Multicultural Women's Festival, which is going to be in May of this year. And it's a litany of women, Black, white, Hispanic, Indian, Jewish, Christian, Muslim, to come together and put on a festival to have their voices heard in a multicultural way. The production had to be written, directed, and produced by a woman. And we're going to put them all on stage. I can't talk about the celebration of women when my resume doesn't speak to what I'm doing. So the Diva at the Stage Door Multicultural Women's Festival is speaking to that. That's going to be in May. You can find more information at frankiedarcell.com. That's my 2023.
Wow. All right, don't go away. Thank you so much for coming on, Frankie.
Always thank you, honey.
All right, don't go away. We're going to be right back.
Plus, he can act. He good. He really is, you guys. He's really wonderful.
Thank you. All right, don't go away.
Let me help you with that, Mr. Smith.
Oh, thank you.
How did this get here?
You got one too?
Yeah.
New recruits? I'm sure you're wondering why you're here. This is our Elite Caregiver Super Training Center, and you two are the perfect candidates.
This is incredible.
I know, right? Ready to become an Always Best Care caregiver? Working for the best team with competitive pay? Join Team Green.
Always Best Care supports diversity. There's a hero in all of us.
Did you know?
Welcome back to the Digital Show. I want to remind everybody that the show is sponsored by Always Best Care Senior Services. Hey, listen, we're hiring. If you're looking to join a rewarding team, we offer competitive medical, dental, vision, 401k, and guess what? I am giving people SEPTA key cards so they can cut down on their transportation costs. Check us out at teamgreenabc.com. All right, we are in for a special treat. We had to really hook this man off the floor. He comes with so much. Marchant Davis, as the author of A Boy in His Mirror, and I bought a couple of these books. You're an author, an actor, a singer, and probably models too. You get my, I gotta buff my, I'm not just kidding. But, he has come, down from Bed-Stuy to join us today. He's from Philadelphia, from Nicetown.
I'm from Nicetown.
And all. But tell us, how did you get started writing?
Well, how did I get started writing? This book specifically was an inspiration like 7 years in the making. I wanted to write a book that sort of spoke to the TikTok, Instagram generation, a book that sort of, there are many books that inspired me as a kid, and I think one of the sort of models that I worked off of when writing this is that, there's no real competition. The only person you're in competition with is yourself. Shirley Lee Ralph said it a few weeks back during one of her acceptance speeches for Abbott Elementary, that when you look in the mirror, you gotta love what you see. And so I wanted to write a book for kids to love what they see. It's, if you think of Hair Love meets Black Panther, you're thrust into the world that is A Boy in His Mirror.
Wow. And so you are writing. First of all, where can people find this book at?
Yes, you can find A Boy in His Mirror wherever books are sold. I encourage you to go to a Black-owned bookstore. Uncle Bobby's here in the city in Germantown, or Harriet's on Girard. If you're in Brooklyn, Adane, or Sisters Uptown. And there are many more that I don't know of, but find them. Or you can go to Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, books.com.
And so it was illustrated by Keturah.
Yes, Keturah Bobo. She actually has another book here at the fair, Opal Lee, and her first book was New York Times bestseller, I Am Enough, written by Grace Beyer.
And I got that book too.
Yeah.
We're sitting here at the Pennsylvania Convention Center down in downtown Philadelphia at the 31st African American Book Fair. What does it mean to you to have an event like this, and why do you participate?
Why do I? Well, I'm from Philly. I'm from Nicetown, born and raised.
Go Eagles.
Yeah, go Birds! I went to high school right down the street at the Creative and Performing Arts High School of Philadelphia. I should be able to say that without tripping over the tongue. What's important to me is that, I want people here in this city to know that it's possible. Anything is possible. If you see it, then it's possible. And this book fair is just allowing for so many books and stories to be seen. And it's important that we don't cut costs and we invest in those, you know what I'm saying? And here at the fair, people are.
Yeah. So, he didn't want me to say anything about it, but I would be remiss if I didn't tell you, he's one of the lead actors on Broadway now in a play called
Ain't No More, but we actually closed, so we're no longer on Broadway.
Okay.
But yes, we were at the Belasco Theater, which I will be back in for the next show I'm doing called Goodnight Oscars, starring Sean Hayes, going into previews April 7th, opening April 24th at the Belasco.
I'm gonna come up there and check you out.
Come.
I go to the theater oftentimes and take my daughter who's grown. We go there and then we make a night out and go to the Keene Steakhouse.
Nice.
Yeah.
And if you want to check out some of my other stuff, you can check out A Journal for Jordan, directed by Denzel Washington, starring Michael B. Jordan, or The Day Shall Come, which is available on Hulu or Amazon.
Right on, brother.
Yeah.
Right. And he sing too. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah.
Take us into the next break. Go ahead.
Exceedingly, abundantly, above all.
Thank you. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Thank you, brother. Thank you,
welcome.
man. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Check it out.
Let me help you with that, Mrs. Jackson.
Oh, thank you, dear.
How'd this get here? You got one too?
Yeah.
New recruits? I'm sure you're wondering why you're here. This is our Elite Caregiver Super Training Center, and you two are the perfect candidates.
This is incredible.
I know, right? Ready to become an Always Best Care caregiver? Working for the best team with competitive pay? Join Team Green.
Always Best Care supports diversity. There's a hero in all of us.
Did you know?
Welcome back to the Did You Know Show. I'm here with the very special Leah Henderson. Leah, how you doing today?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm glad you could participate. There's a lot going on at the 31st African American Book Fair. We had to pull her off the floor. You know, a long line of people trying to get to know you and get you to sign off on your book, The Magic in Changing Your Stars.
Absolutely.
So tell us, where are you from?
I live in Washington, D.C., but I grew up outside of Boston.
Okay.
Yeah.
Boston?
Yeah.
Okay. The car?
Boston. Park the car.
Park the car. Oh, wow. Commonwealth Ave.
Uh-huh.
My daughter graduated some years ago from Boston University, so I'm a little familiar. Okay, so all right, so then you wrote this book. Tell us how long you've been writing, and tell us the inspiration behind this book.
Sure. So my first book came out in 2017.
Okay.
I write not only picture books, but middle grade, and I dabble a little bit in YA as well. I write fiction and nonfiction.
Okay.
And this book, The Magic in Changing Your Stars, is a combination of all the favorite things of mine. So it has a lot of the Harlem Renaissance. It has Black excellence, so all the characters are named after famous Black performers or, entertainers of some type, or photographers, or different people. They're all named after people in this book. But this book is about a little boy named Ailey, named after Alvin Ailey.
Okay.
Who wants to be in The Wiz. And of course,
one of my favorite productions.
Yeah, and of course he doesn't practice.
Okay.
And when he doesn't do so well, he tells his grandfather, and his grandfather lets him in on a little secret about how he has stage fright. But Bojangles Robinson, the famous tap dancer and Hollywood performer, gave him a pair of tap shoes that turn out to be magical. And Ailey tries those on, makes a little wish on a star, and goes back to Harlem in Harlem Renaissance. And meets his grandpa when he's about his age. And so it's a story about them finding their courage to get up on the stage and dance.
And that's important because
absolutely.
One of the favorite things, if you hear the noise in the background, it's not noise, it's the storytelling right now. If you could see these children's face, and not just the small children, the middle age, and some high school students really sifting through this book.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness, the book fair is just wonderful. And when you get concepts like this, it just makes me think about how I used to lose myself and dreaming about being a veterinarian. I wound up being a business guy, but
sometimes it works out that way.
But I am a whole farmer.
Okay.
I'm a hobby farmer.
Okay.
My hobby is rescuing animals.
Okay.
But I was always intimidated by science. I was always good with math, and when my mother said, when you put your mind to it, you can do science. But for some reason, math, was kind of like my specialty, I guess. Math and things that had something to do with business.
Okay.
But animals have always been my passion. But understanding, that sometimes you are fearful. Fear can be a mind killer. Fear is something that we all have one point or another had to deal with.
Yeah.
And when you have creative people like yourself, I couldn't wait to meet you because, we're about to meet E.B. Lewis.
Yes.
Who I know you guys have collaborated.
Yes.
And he's, can't wait to talk to him. But tell us about that. Tell us about your experience with working with other authors of color.
Sure.
And illustrators too.
And illustrators too. First of all, I have to give a shout out to Vanessa Lloyd-Scombati for this event because it's amazing and it's wonderful. And even before I was published, I used to come. I used to come from DC, and just to be in this space and see all these bright, smiling faces of the kids, and to be able to see a room full of Black authors and illustrators is something that I had never had growing up.
Special.
Right? So it is a treasure that I hope everyone really, really takes that memory snapshot of. So one of the things for me growing up that was really important for my parents was for me to see representations of the Black experience, the diversity of the Black experience throughout the world. So we're avid travelers. And so one of the things that I love about this book fair is the varied scope of the Black experience. It's just not one narrative and one story.
It's all shades.
It's all shades, all experiences, all types of stories, and it's just magical. And so as you were speaking of E.B. Lewis, we have a book together called Daddy Speaks Love, and it started on a phone call. We are good friends. He called up. This is the wonderful thing also about having other, Black authors in the space. You become friends, right?
You're coworkers.
You're out in that space, and then you become more than just coworkers, right? And so we were on the phone talking, And he was saying, oh, I'm thinking of doing this thing, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, okay. I think it would be really cool if you have dads with this and dads with that. And he knows my father very well. He knows how much I love my dad. And I kept running off, and he said, go sit down and write the book. And so we wrote a book called Daddy Speaks Love. And it's all the ways that dads impart wisdom and guidance to us throughout our lives and help us, you know, spread our wings and grow. So, and his illustrations are stunning. Yeah, they're stunning.
So tell us, where can we get the book?
Sure. So if you are here today, there are tables full of books, but you could find it anywhere online or in your brick and mortar stores. Please support local Black bookstores.
Yes.
And just ask for my name, Leah Henderson, and you'll see my catalog of books. And if they don't have them in the store, they can definitely order them for you.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Of course,
the show.
it's my absolute pleasure to be
What do you got coming up? You got anything? You got anything in the hopper, as they say?
I do. So you know, you're an animal lover. I'm an animal lover. In April, on April 11th, I have a book called The Courage of the Hummingbird, and it is a fable about animals from all over the world that come together to do the best that they can.
Okay.
And stop a fire.
I will look forward to it. I'm going to stalk you on social media to look
Yay,
it out.
do it. It's all good.
Leah Henderson, my pleasure to bring you on to it and
so
really
much.
introduce you to the world. Okay, well, not introduce you to the world, but introduce the book.
Thank you.
And authors that look like you. I mean, that's why I participate with this book fair. Because as you said, and as I feel, it is very, very important. We come in all shades of dreams, all shades. Everybody learns different. Everybody feels different. Everybody has input. This is, it's one thing. Somebody told me this, a long time ago. It's one thing to be invited, but it's another thing to be included.
Yes.
You know
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You feel me?
I feel you 100%, if not 200% on
Okay,
that
right
one.
on. All right. Well, stay tuned. We're going to come back with E.B. Lewis. Don't go away. All right, thank you.
Let me help you with that, Mrs. Jackson.
Oh, thank you, dear.
How'd this get here? You got one too?
Yeah.
Ah, new recruits? I'm sure you're wondering why you're here. This is our Elite Caregiver Super Training Center, and you two are the perfect candidates.
This is incredible.
I know, right? Ready to become an Always Best Care caregiver? Working for the best team with competitive pay? Join Team Green.
Always Best Care supports diversity. There's a hero in all of us.
Did you know?
Welcome back to the Did You Know Show. I am here with the acclaimed award-winning author and fine art artist, E.B. Lewis. And it's my absolute pleasure because I met this gentleman some years back when we had the actual event at the Community College of Philadelphia.
That's right.
And so it's my understanding that this is the 31st African American Book Fair, but you were here for the second, and then the second event, and every year since.
Every year since. Yeah, I'm an old timer.
Let's talk about why you have. So first of all, where are you from?
Philadelphia originally. From Frankfurt.
Frankfurt, Philadelphia.
Yeah, man,
okay.
Frankfurt. Yeah, man. I'm proud to say.
Right on.
Yeah.
And so, what is it about this event that draws you and your consistent support, even through the pandemic? What is the reason why did you support it?
I'm an educator, for one.
Okay.
I'm an educator. I'm a dad.
Okay.
An artist.
Okay.
And being all those things, it's about education, and getting our story out into the public.
Yes.
So they can appreciate, understand, identify. And for the children, it's all about the kids, because that's the generation that comes up. That's the ones those are the individuals that will change the world. If it's anything's going to happen, it's going to happen with that generation, these generations that's coming through. And so it's our job as educators, parents, teachers, what have you, artists, to get the children in the right frame of mind for that journey that they have to take.
It's interesting when you have a lot of the different leaders, a lot of elected officials of one party, all of a sudden seeing their mission to be very dismissive and to find the history, particularly black history, to be something that is offensive or will make children not like each other. I just to myself...
Not like each other, not like themselves.
Not like themselves, right. And so at a time when, you know, our history for some reason has, you know, somehow become under some severe bigoted scrutiny, that some folks believe that, you know, and somehow, you know, they come up with this phrase CRT.
Yeah.
And being woke.
Yeah.
And all this kind of thing. I think that history, and I love history because I like to, you know, understand from whence we came. I tell my adult daughter all the time, there's one thing where you could go to Google or Amazon, or you can kind of go to the Wikipedia, but I grew up in the time of the Dewey Decimal System, where you actually had to go to the library and finger through encyclopedias and that kind of thing.
Right.
But the best history lesson comes from those that lived it. Do you agree?
No, that's exactly right.
And you know,
and to be in that time, and take advantage of that, because history's being written all the time.
Yes.
You know, whether you know it or not, or whether you realize it or not, history's always being written. And so, right now, this is a historic event. This is something that we are not taking full advantage and understand the importance of it right now until 25, 30, 40, 50 years from now. And they're going to have this access to these videos, to this reference, to these books, and then they'll look back and say, man, there was something really serious going on back then. We didn't really take full advantage of it, you know?
And it's going to be too late.
And it'll be too late, exactly.
It'll be too late.
Yeah.
Tell us about your book, You Are My Pride, a love letter from
This is
your
right
motherland.
down the alley what we're talking about now, because what they're talking about, this book is a book that deals with the origins of man, right? And it is spoken from the voice from Mother Africa. And basically, she's saying, you are my pride, every walk of life.
Yep.
You know, that we come from the same place. That this is your origin. This is what links us. This is what basically combines us. We have the same thread. And let's recognize and appreciate, because it's about humanity. You know, that's where when we think about the immensity of this being human.
Right.
You know, forget everything else. The immensity of just being human is enough. And so that's what this is about. This is sharing that knowledge and getting everyone on the same page. That, wait a minute, let's celebrate our similarities instead of our differences.
And when you do it in a non-hierarchical way, I think that you celebrate the differences that become creativity.
No, it's all about creativity.
It's all about creativity. You learn from everybody. You know, for me running a business, and one of the precious jewels I always say here lately is that I'm proud that I've built this multicultural business called Always Best Care Team Green, Philadelphia and Delaware. But more and more, what has come to my attention when we have conversations in the leadership sessions is that it's intergenerational. We as a workforce, really, it's about 5 generations of workforce working. And so that brings about a very creative conversation. And sometimes we have to deal with our unconscious bias.
That's true.
You know, everybody has some level of it. It doesn't make it bad, but it's when you're not self-aware of where you're coming from and how you feel. I'm wearing a shirt today, United Against Hate, because that's where I come from, you know. I believe everybody has a special place in this world. I believe we're all small fragments of his imagination. You not only write from a place, like you said before, being an educator, being a father, being a man of color, and you know, somewhere, you know, you in your heart, you feel like, you know, it's up to you to tell the story. But you're also, let's talk about art. And
Well, let's talk about that one. I mean, that's a good, you know, kind of jump off point, because when you talk about art and the purpose of the artist, we pretty much have been marginalized, you know. But what our job is, that we sit out on a peripheral, and we're in constant observation of the world. That's what artists do. And when I'm talking about the visual artists, I'm talking about the writers, the musicians, the dancers, so on and so forth, the 7 arts, right? Our job is to basically take it into a documentation. So we're documenting our time here, and so when generations come later, they understand what was going on at this particular time in the world, right? So to coin or to quote a wonderful saying by James Baldwin.
Oh, one of my favorite authors.
Yeah, man. He said at his passing, his brother was asked, what would James have said about his legacy? He says, oh man, Jimmy spoke of it often. He said, when they sift through the wreckage and brush away the detritus, hopefully they will uncover something that I left behind, something that somebody else can use. And that's what it's all about, to leave something behind that somebody else can use. And so as I grew up, and as a young artist in Philly and what have you, going through the schools and all that, I had that big aspiration of being this great artist. I'm gonna be this great artist. And when I realized as I got older and wiser, hopefully, that I don't want to be the best artist in the world. I want to be the best artist for the world.
Wow. Wow. Evie, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Appreciate you, man.
What other message can you leave? What can we expect for you? You know, I'm a fan because you're one of the artists, one of the writers that I look forward to seeing every year. Honestly, what can we expect from you? What is your inspirations going to take us?
Well, I'm working on several projects right now. One is Roy DeCarver, the great Latino photographer, doing the Harlem Renaissance.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
The Langston Hughes era.
There you go. There you go. So I'm working on that project right now. I'm working on a Native American piece because I'm Native American. I'm Lenape.
I didn't know that.
So yeah, and so this piece about the skywalkers, the Mohicans, and how they walk the rails, building the bridges and the skyscrapers and things like that, the iron workers. So I'm working on that project. I'm working on a project with Obama. Yeah. Obama is the first president in the history of the White House who actually had a Seder at the White House. And he had it every year he was in office. And so this book is about him being the first president, basically celebrating Passover. Yeah.
Right on.
So yeah, I'm working on that. So I'll get to meet him, which will be he and Michelle. I'll get to meet him this spring, and it'll be great. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to that project.
Yeah, that's the one I'm working on now as we speak. So yes, so I got several things going on in the hopper.
And making a sausage in the back room.
Yeah, you got to keep it busy. It's about making art and making people think.
Right on.
That's how I look at it.
Well, this has been my absolute pleasure meeting the different authors, and how fitting to end with Evie Lewis, who has been a part of this celebration, if you will. We call it a book fair, African American book fair, but it's more and more become a celebration. In the background, you've heard the drums, you've heard the cheers, you've heard the roar of the crowd. It's you've heard the sponsors.
The children's laughter.
The children's laughter and their eyes and their questions, and they just they're free to just express themselves.
Nothing like it.
It's an experience that I look forward to every single year, and I hope we can do it for 30 more years.
There we go.
Okay, this has been brought to you by Always Best Care. That's my show. That's this episode. Tune in to my radio show on Saturdays. It's a Philly thing. Tune into my show on WRDradio.com. I take you on a live tour of the Did You Know Show. The Did You Know Show is centered around connecting people to home, community, and business-related issues that you probably would not even have known about. Thank you, and then we'll talk to you soon.
Did you know he'll help you understand? Did you know